On another note, you also proposed a measure that would place term limits on congressional members. Yes. And here's something, this is something, a topic that's been wildly popular with most Americans at large, largely unpopular with congressional members, term limits. So let me ask you this, do you ever worry that congressional members, after this and not allowing them to become lobbyists, and that they might approach you in an alleyway with a lead pipe?
That's kind of how they approach me anyway.
Is it? Okay.
So I pretty much assume that risk. The nice thing is most members of Congress are really not that scary in a dark alleyway.
That's probably true.
A lead pipe, you're more likely to get a paper cut from them than an actual real injury. So I think you're pretty safe here.
Yeah, but I would imagine that this would rub a lot of career politicians the wrong way. I mean, you're talking about taking away being a career politician, and then also the ability, when you're not really a politician, but to work in the Beltway in D.C. as a lobbyist. That's what a lot of people do, including Republicans, by the way. Yeah, once they achieve office, all of their net worth is gained at the public dime.
Yeah, no, that is absolutely right, and it's one of the things the American people are fed up with is the culture of corruption of Washington. You know what a lot of people call the swamp. President Trump was elected to drain the swamp. That is the swamp. It's the corrupt world where people come, they become career politicians, they stay here forever and ever and ever. They amass power, they amass wealth. And then at some point they cash out and they get even more power and wealth. And that corruption is not good for the American people. Term limits has been something I've always supported. Mm-hmm. But once I got elected to the Senate and saw it firsthand, I now support it 1,000 times more because this place, it is corrupting. Just this week, I chaired a hearing on term limits, a constitutional amendment to impose term limits, to limit senators to 2 6-year terms, to limit House members to 3 2-year terms. I've authored that amendment. And, it's amazing. This is an issue with overwhelming support across the country. Over 80% of Americans support term limits, and it cuts cross-party lines. Vast majority of Republicans support term limits, but the same is true of Democrats, of independents. Vast majority of African Americans support term limits. Vast majority of Hispanics support term limits. The one group that doesn't support term limits, career politicians in Washington.
That's what I would imagine. Yeah, it seems to make a lot of sense. Now, you said you've now felt that it's even more important since coming to Washington. Do you see a difference in the way these people do their jobs or govern or vote when they intend to be career politicians?
Yes, and it's a series of sort of gradual compromises. The dominant instinct in Congress is risk aversion.
Right.
People desperately want to get reelected. There's an old joke that politics is Hollywood for ugly people.
Yeah. Although now Hollywood is becoming Hollywood for ugly people. Well, that's mainly just HBO. Yeah.
Yeah. That's yes.
Yeah.
What happens, and it's interesting, like I'll get asked in town halls, I'll get asked, look, do members of Congress, do they believe anything? Do they just come up there? Are they faking it? And, I actually think most members of Congress on both Democrat and Republican, they run initially. They believe some things. They want to go make a difference. They believe what they're saying typically on the stump. And it's a little bit, I drew an analogy. I've drawn this analogy before. It's a little bit like the Godfather movies. You think of all 3 Godfather movies, the central arc of the narrative is Michael Corleone, the good son, making rationalization after rationalization, small decisions that on their own seem right. So his dad, Vito Corleone, is going to be targeted for murder. So, of course, Michael's got to step up and save his dad.
Right.
And this whole string of seemingly small rationalizations ends up in all 3 movies with him becoming, a massive mass murderer.
Right.
That's a little bit how Congress is, where people get elected. They want to do something. They believe in something. And then they say, well, but before you can do that, you got to get reelected. So make this little compromise, make this little compromise. And what happens is because people are so obsessed with staying here, they don't make the hard decisions. They don't take on the big issues. And that's how government grows and grows and grows. That's how we get a $22 trillion national debt.
Go to conventionestates.com, press the button, sign the petition. More importantly, get 10 of your friends to do the same. When you sign the petition, then that sends a letter to your state legislator. You go on the list in their district as a supporter. We deliver those lists to the state legislators. It means something to them.